this time, I'm going to call the March 7th, 2024 meeting of the Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Commission to order. If you will, stand with me at this time. We'll have a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Father, we're thankful to you for the day and for the blessings you've given us. We thank you for now the opportunity we have this meeting tonight. We recognize we live in a great place. Father, we're so thankful that we're blessed people to live here. We pray that what we do tonight honors you. I pray that we show respect to each other and we conduct ourselves in that way, and that you give us insight and wisdom in what we need to do here tonight. Thank you for all the things you do for us. Thank you for the many that work in this county to make this a great place to live. Thank you for our staff who put this meeting together tonight, for their hard work, and for our first responders, our elected officials. Father, all these go together, and the citizens that live here make this a great place, and we give you thanks. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time I'll call the roll. Brandon Bias. Here. Robert Davis. Here. Plummer Tonsmeyer. Jason Padgett. Michael Mullick. Here. Greg Seibert. Here. Bill Booyer. Here. Jamie Stradiger. Here. Mike McKenzie. Here. Glenn Seal. Diane Burnett. Here. Michael Fletcher. Here. Danny Bolton. Here. George Waters. Here. All right, we have a quorum. At this time, each of you have received a copy of the minutes of the last meeting of our work session and our regular meeting of the February 1st meeting. So does anybody have any corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval for both of those documents.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for their approval.
All right. Mr. Cyrus made a motion that we approve minutes of our work session and our regular meeting minutes. Do I have a second? Mr. Davis? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, at this time, let me just quickly go over the process for tonight in case you're new to this. I'll do it as quickly as possible because we do have a long agenda. Hopefully when you came in, if you came tonight to speak on any item, and I would say to you, even if you're not sure you might want to speak, you need to sign up. You need to go back out front, tell the ladies you want to sign up. They'll put your name. It'll come up on our notepad here. We'll start by calling the items that are public hearings. I'll open the public hearing on those. Our staff will come up to the podium over here and make a presentation. They'll give us the opportunity to ask them questions. We'll have the applicant come up and speak, get his presentation. We'll ask questions of him. I will then start to call on each of those that have signed up for that particular item to come to the podium in the front here and share with us your concerns or questions, whatever you might have. We are timing, correct? Someone on staff, are we not? What is it? Are we timing all right, 3 minutes? So each person that comes up will get 3 minutes to speak, so use your 3 minutes wisely. I would suggest that if somebody else has already expressed a concern that you had, if you have another concern, express it. But you'll hear an alarm go off at the end of that 3 minutes, and then your time is up, and we would ask that you sit down. I know it sounds like I'm being rude when I have to stop you, but please understand, we have 18 items on the agenda tonight. It's a long agenda. There are a lot of you here. So just respect that in that sense, and we'll try to give everybody a chance to speak, but you just need to sign up. I will close the public hearing on each item, and when I close the public hearing, that means you can't speak again on that particular item. So a lot of people like to raise their hand and say, well, I thought of something else. Well, it's too late at that point. So be sure to get your comments in when you're called upon. Turn your cell phones off, if you will, or mute those so that we're not interrupted by those. We'd appreciate that. We are doing one thing different recently, and I'll explain that as we move into our agenda items. We will start tonight with what we're calling consent items. So I will call these out one at a time. Selena will bring these up. It'll just quickly tell you what the item is. I'll ask if you're here to speak against this item. It's on the consent agenda because we, as the Planning Commission, have already looked at it, and we're prepped to go ahead and approve these items. But if there is someone here on any one of these items that has come to speak and because you're opposed to it or have a question, we will pull it off the consent agenda and give you that chance to speak following this. But we're going to go through 6 items real quickly to see if there's anybody here that may be here to speak for that item. So with that, we're going to move into those. The first item, and I'm going to open the public hearing, I'm going to close it as quickly if no one's here to speak on it. The first one is the CSP 23-42 Eastern Shore Cosmetic Center. So I'm opening the public hearing on this one. Is there anyone here that came tonight to speak on this item or had a question on it? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing on that. I'm going to go to the next one, CSP 24-04, which is the Coastal Sports Academy. Anybody? Okay, closing the public hearing on that one. Next, I'm going to open the public hearing on CSP 24-06, which is the Cornerstone Storage. You got a question?
I'd like to speak about it.
Okay, well then we're going to pull that one off the agenda. We'll bring it back up, and I just opened the public hearing on it. Can I put this one, since I just opened it, I don't want to, can I reopen it?
You will
Let's
carry
handle
it.
all the
Oh, I'm sorry.
consents that are truly consent first, and then we'll reopen the ones that are not.
Okay,
They end up that we have to pull from that.
so we'll pull this one and just come back to it?
Yeah, let's do all the consent ones first and call out all them, and then do that vote, and then we'll pull that one back
Okay.
in.
All right. The next one is PER 24-06. Let's open a public hearing for this one. It's Cove at Cotton Bayou Phase 1. Anybody on this one?
Mr. Chairman, the extensions are not public hearings.
Oh, I'm sorry, and I asked you that question before the meeting, Buford, so thank you. All right, so that's an extension request. That's not a public hearing. And in fact, the next one is also Paxton Farms Phase 1. And then our final one, I'll open the public hearing for case number STP 24-02, Woodpecker Landing Subdivision. Anybody here on that one? Okay, I'm closing public hearing on that. So we have 5 items. We're only going to pull, that was the Cornerstone Storage. So I'm going to pull that off the consent agenda. And with that, I'm going to ask the Planning Commission to make a motion on those other 5 items.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Okay?
Seconded.
Mr. Bias has made a motion that we approve the consent agenda, seconded by Mr. Seibert. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. So let's go back to Cornerstone Storage. Just real quickly, I don't know which staff member, is that yours, Selena?
It's mine.
You'll just
Yes.
quickly give us an overview on that one?
Okay. This is a request for a commission site plan approval for boat and RV storage. The subject property is located in Planning District 15. It is zoned RA, Rural Agriculture. It's located on the south side of County Road 64, west of 54 East and north of Sermon Road. The applicant, as stated, is asking for boat and RV storage. Here's the locator map and the site map. You can see it is surrounded by RA, Rural Agriculture Zoning. And then to the west of 54 East is RSFE, which is estate residential lots. Here are the property images of the subject property and adjacent properties. These are the zoning requirements for the RA zoning. Mini warehouse, boat, and RV storage is permitted in RA with commission site plan approval. Here is the zoning use table where it says it needs commission site plan. This is the site plan. The applicant is asking for the whole site plan to be approved, but currently is only buildings A through D, and also the detention pond as soon as, if this gets approved. And then the other buildings will be done in phases later. Here are the building elevations. This is the proposed facade of what they want the buildings to look like. Of course, their drainage narrative was accepted by the permit engineer. Landscape buffers are required around the boat and RV storage. This is their landscape plan that will be all the way around the property. You can see they have overstory, understory, and some shrubs mixed. There were no comments except that the drainage plan was approved. And staff has recommended approval of the CSP.
Okay, any questions for staff?
One question. I noticed in their landscape plan that they have fencing going to the third, or the fourth building, and then they're doing different landscaping beyond that. As they develop the remainder of this, would they extend the chain link, or is the landscaping going to be a permanent part of the development?
I believe they show the 8-foot-high chain link fence around the whole development, the subject property. The blue line you see on your...
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then I'm going, is there, Mr. Granger, do you want to come and speak? Do you have anything you need to? All right, then I'll, let's see, I guess Sherry? Give us your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Sherry Killam Albee. I live at 25765 Mercer Court, which is in the Rolling Meadows subdivision, which is directly in front of this property. So when I saw the sign for this, I became concerned. This is a residential area, but you do have Bell Forest Elementary right there, and there are just traffic snarls every day right there. It's a 2-lane road. It's already super busy. I don't think we need anything else on that area. Also, there is already a storage facility there less than a quarter of a mile from where this one is proposed that is vacant and for sale. So I don't think it's needed. There are approximately 11 storage facility businesses on this side of 64. That seems to be a lot. There is concern in the neighborhood about what this might do to our property values, since it will be staring us in the face when we walk outside into our front yards. And it is a residential area, and I am one of those kind of people who's always afraid, well, if you let this come in, then what next? What's going to get there next? And so, again, I ask you to reconsider because of the traffic problems that are already there. The fact that it's really not necessary. We have one that's vacant and for sale within a quarter of a mile of this proposed one. And those are my concerns. Thank
Okay.
you for hearing them. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, that's all that I had signed up to speak. I'll close the public hearing on that. And anybody have any questions? Planning Commission? Boykin, you got anything? Ms. Boykin, you got anything to add?
I do not know.
Okay.
Selena, does the CSP approval consider all the future buildings, meaning I guess they can construct the future buildings as needed pending our approval of the CSP? Is that?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Selena, I seem to recall, this is one that they came to us in a work session to talk about. Is that right? They were looking at doing, I thought I remember it being some, even being able to operate, electrical could have his equipment in it and he could operate a business out of it, which they would not be able to do in this case, right? These are strictly storage.
Right, correct. Yeah, we've met with these owners several times. They've kind of had some different plans, but this is what they've gone with, the boat and RV storage.
Okay? Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we accept it.
Okay? Mr. Bolton's made a motion that we approve. Do I have a second? All right, Ms. Burnett, second the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries. Okay? At this time, we'll go to, this is not a public hearing, we had a public hearing on this last month. Case number 07, Southern Poolscapes Highway Construction Setback Appeal. This was tabled last month. Ms. Waters, you want to give us an update?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to jump right to our site plan here. Just to kind of give a little preamble of, we tabled this request last month on the merits of, last month there was a request for on the 100 feet highway construction setback off County Road 32. Since then, we have worked with the property owner where he has withdrawn the request for a masonry wall and now is proposing a privacy wood fence. The privacy wood fence is no longer considered a permanent structure, so it would no longer be applicable for this appeal, and now your consideration will be only towards the swimming pool.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
And I do have a couple of slides here. We have worked with the highway department to possibly look into reclassify the current classification of arterial to possible major collector for this section of County Road 32. So there, if achievable in the future, this can lessen the impact of needing an appeal for permanent structures along the section of 32. But other than that, I don't have anything else.
Okay. This is not a public hearing, so now's the time to ask any questions. If you don't, then entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the construction setback appeal for this piece of property.
Okay, Mr. Cybers, Mr. Bowyer's made a motion to, for approval.
I'll second.
Mr. Bice has seconded the motion. Have any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries. Okay. This time then we'll open the public hearing now for case number Z24-01, the Bornholt property. I probably have failed to do this, so I'll ask it on this one. Does anybody need to declare any prior communication on this item? Okay. Ms. Boykin?
All right. This is a request to rezone around 41 acres. The subject property is located in Planning District 32. It is currently zoned RA, Rural Agriculture. It is located on the southeast corner of County Road 95 and County Road 26. The applicant is asking for the RSF1 zoning in order to do a future residential single-family subdivision. These are all the 11 factors we consider when doing a rezoning request. As you can see, there was about 4 that we thought did not meet, 4 that met, and then 2 that were questionable. Here is the locator map of the subject property and a site map. You can see it's surrounded by RA zoning. Most of it is residential or agricultural uses. Staff analysis suggests that arguments could be reasonably made for both for and against the approval of this rezoning. The Planning Commission should make a recommendation based on the information that is presented by staff, the applicant, and any information that was revealed at the public hearing.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay. Aaron Collins, did you want to, you're representing the applicant, I presume?
Hey, how are you guys? I'm really just here in case you guys got any questions, any further questions, or if there's any comments from the public, we can address those.
Okay. All right, I have one signed up in opposition, Amanda White.
My name's Amanda White. I live on 11880 County Road 95, and I'm against this development. There's already 200 homes already being in the process being built right down the road on North 95. There are also 2 new developments on the west side of Alberta coming into town on 98. All these new developments will of course increase traffic, which our roads can't handle the current traffic. But will the emergency service be able to handle these large neighborhoods that's being developed all at once in this short period of time? I was born and raised in Alberta on County Road 26. I'm trying to keep the existing small town feel. I understand the community is growing, but these large subdivisions in these high volume areas are causing problems for our community. Plus, our school systems are not able to keep up with these high volume developments. Our school is overflowing with students. I'm sure the developer has checked up all the boxes and are set to approve, and y'all are set to approve, but I'm just asking y'all to look at the bigger picture. These developments are causing more harm than good. I'm not against the growth. I just feel like I'm not against the growth, but I feel like we are growing fast and not taking account the impact of what's happening in our communities. And that is my concern.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
That's all I have signed up to speak. I'll close the public hearing on that. All right, any questions?
Chairman, I did receive one email this morning against this rezoning.
Okay,
Just wanted to make that known.
all right, this is a recommendation to the county commission, so no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend denial of this subdivision based on the incompatibility with the comprehensive plan.
Okay. All right, Ms. Burnett's made a motion that we recommend denial on this item. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bias? Second the motion. Any discussion on the motion? So the motion in this case is for a recommendation of denial. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Yours is the only heard. So motion carries.
I'm it.
Okay, well, at this time, we're going to open the public hearing for case number Z24-02, Caroline Property. Does anybody need to declare any prior communication on this item? Ms. McKenzie?
All right. So this is ZV 2402, the Caroline property. The request before the Planning Commission is to rezone a portion of the front of the parcel from CR to B1. This is located in Planning District 15 and is currently zoned CR, which is Conservation Resource. It's located south of Somerset Drive on the west side of State Highway 181 in Daphne. And they are requesting to rezone to B1 to potentially develop a childcare facility and professional office space. So when I looked at the factors for the rezoning, most of the factors seem to support a rezoning of this property. Here are the locator and site maps. As you can see, to the north is the residential subdivision. To the south, it's zoned B2 but currently vacant. To the east, it's currently unzoned but used for residential purposes. And then on the west, it's the city of Daphne, and it's also residential purposes. And then I kind of gave a locator map showing just how differing the zonings are right there along State Highway 181. So unless information to the contrary is revealed at the public hearing, staff feels like this application should be recommended for approval. And I can answer any questions or go over any of the factors if you would like.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay. If not, then I'll go ahead and call up Ms. McDill. Are you representing the applicant? You want to come up first? I don't know if you have a team of folks that are going to speak and you want to do it in some order. I have 3 that we're going to speak in favor.
If we could come at the end, that would be great.
All right. All right, then I'll go to the opposition. Jeanette Hartson.
My name is Jeanette Hartson. I live at 9907 Somerset Drive. At this time, I would like to donate my time to one of our speakers. Is that possible?
That's fine, yes.
Okay.
Who is it?
It's Kathy Dean.
Okay. Come on up, Kathy. We'll give you 6 minutes now.
I appreciate it because I crossed out a lot of things.
All right.
Just put them right back. I still will talk quickly. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the proposed rezoning of the 2.9 acres behind the home that my husband and I have lived in for 27 years. My name is Kathy Dean. My husband, Chuck Dean, is a native of Stapleton, and we have lived together in Baldwin County since 1983. When we moved to Somerset Drive, Highway 27 was a 2-lane road, and we were surrounded on all sides by undeveloped property, fields, and farmland. Today, as you know, Highway 181 is a congested and dangerous speed zone. Most mornings as we leave for work, it regularly takes 5 minutes or more of waiting for break-in traffic to make a left turn out of our one-road subdivision. When the 2 subdivisions of Lansdowne and Rileywood were built across the road, we felt good about the growth because it was in keeping with our neighborhood of single-family homes. We had the same reaction with the construction of the Savoy subdivision on our west side. Because our neighborhood was not aware of rezoning in our area and therefore did not oppose it, high-density multifamily apartments now border our north side. Fortunately, there is a dense vegetative buffer of 35 to 50 feet between the Somerset property line and the development, and this has helped mitigate the impact. Since 2006, our neighborhood has fought a variety of attempts to rezone the property we are discussing today to allow for businesses or multifamily townhomes, or requests by property owners to be annexed into the city of Daphne to bypass county zoning regulations. All of these efforts that we opposed were either tabled, withdrawn, or denied by the Baldwin County Commission or City of Daphne, who rightly recognized our concerns. All this to say that our Somerset neighborhood has consistently asked this body, as well as the city of Daphne, for any development on the property in question to be in keeping with our single-family residential community that borders its north side, the single-family residential subdivisions Lansdowne and Rileywood on its east side, and the single-family residential subdivision Sahoy on its west side. A swamp borders its south side. Prior to purchasing the property a few years ago, Mr. Lathan invited our Property Owners Association to meet with him at David's Catfish to hear his proposal for Caroline Oaks Memory Care Facility. His description of the project called for the memory care facility to be constructed in the middle of the property with small cottages to be built in the section behind my home for the husbands of the women in the facility. It was a congenial meeting, and as we expressed our concerns, he discussed plans to build an 8-foot fence and provide the dense landscaping we desired. As he said, he didn't want to see our neighborhood as much as we didn't want to see his business. While we were not thrilled with the business being located adjacent, what he described seemed somewhat in keeping with our desire to retain a residential neighborhood while allowing him to develop the property and make money. With that understanding and the belief that he was a man of his word, we agreed to not oppose his plans, and the purchase went through with the appropriate rezoning. Because my husband and I believed Mr. Lathan in the house that we have lived in for 27 years, we decided to make a huge investment in our home for our retirement, and this past fall we put in a swimming pool knowing the little old men in the cottages behind our home would be good neighbors. We were concerned that Mr. Lathan constructed the Caroline Oaks facility further back on the property than he initially said, close to the Somerset property line on land that had been elevated. The building effectively looms over my neighbors' backyards. He had been invited to attend our property owners' meetings to communicate his plans and discuss our concerns as a good neighbor, but did not attend nor provide us with information about his change of plans for the future or for a buffer. Now his request today will put businesses behind my home instead of the cottages he described. This will bring more traffic noise, security, lighting, dumpsters, and we can only assume, due to the way the land was elevated for Caroline Oaks, businesses that will look directly into our backyard and our retirement pool. It is a major change in zoning to move from the current zoning to B1. Whatever development does take place, of utmost importance to us is the requirement of the county zoning regulations in section 17.2 regarding buffers. My husband and I are extremely concerned that the professional building and daycare he proposes would be as close to our property line as Caroline Oaks is to our neighbors, which does not appear to allow enough space for the vegetative buffer required by that section. So there is in effect no separation between the business and residential homes that start in the $350,000 range. We strongly request that you assure us that any development of this property follows section 17.2 that calls for buffer zones of a minimum of 25 feet with canopy trees of at least 8 feet high at time of planting and understory trees of at least 4 feet high to afford adequate sight, sound, and debris protection. Finally, we would hope that Mr. Lathan would construct the 8-foot fence he promised. We believe that good fences, along with the type of vegetative buffer that zoning requires, can make good neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deborah Hartley.
I'm Deborah Hartley, and I live at 9846 Somerset Drive, and I've lived there about 13 years. And we have a very close-knit neighborhood. There's about 10 of us here today. Of course, we were very happy and pleased that we were going to have Caroline Oaks behind us because I'm a nurse, and my heart is for I take care of a lot of Alzheimer's patients as well at Sacred Heart Hospital many days. My concern is for the change in the rezoning. It is, since the last year, we have had so much noise and so much change in our neighborhood. It has made our comfortable home very uncomfortable. This is what we look at our backyards to right now. So if he builds the 8-foot fence, it should help quite a bit and put the buffer zone up. But the problem I have is that my house is starting, there's so much pounding from the construction, it's starting to crack up my house. And I'm a single mother and a single person, and I work very hard for my home. And so my fence has been cut up. My property's cracking up. And that's why I'm here today, is I don't oppose what they're doing there. I don't want any more construction. The building is so large behind my house, and my neighbor, she looks directly straight into, it looks like it's just coming out of her backyard. I was going to try to print that off for you today to see. But my concern is for the safety as well. I guess about 3 weeks ago, somebody was walking almost to midnight across the fence line, shining a light all the way down our fence line, and so the police was called, and so I don't know what the outcome was for that. But Mr. Latham was kind enough to put a construction fence up at the end of the roadway when I asked about a year ago. And he also knows about the shaking that's going on with the property. I mean, the pipes in my kitchen were shaking. You know, I don't know the damage. I have a 2-story home. I don't know the damage that's been done to my home, and that's why I'm here today as well, is the safety from being the president of this HOA committee, to make sure that everybody on that side of the street is protected as well as the others. We are a very close neighborhood, and I wanted to show you the picture that was sent to me today from my neighbor that's next door. I don't know, this is what she's looking at right out of her backyard, right out of her back. This is what we see. And I know he's going to put, we need a very, if he's going to, it needs to be a very high buffer as well as the construction. There's enough construction on that little piece of property. I'm sorry. It's the construction, it's enough construction on that piece of property. There does not need to be any more construction. It's enough. It is enough, really. It's not even completed after a year. The noise that we've listened to for a year, I have it right here that you can hear, that I sent to Jerry Latham a week ago. He did not respond, but he did read it. And I'll let you hear what we
Mr.
listened to.
Chairman,
This is just a little snippet.
Timer went off, but it didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your 3 minutes are up.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time
Thank you.
and listening to us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Will Booker.
I don't know where the sound is.
Yes, I'm Will Booker. I'm the Vice President of the Somerset HOA. There's not a lot left to say that Kathy Dean didn't say about our concerns. We are concerned about the big thing is the buffer zone that we have. It's the property, the buildings, everything are much closer to our south side homes than we thought they were going to be. I have photographs here of Susan Blackledge, whose house is right in the backyard. I don't know if I can show these to you or if I can use my time.
You can bring them up and we'll pass them down.
And we'll show you how close it is and how important it is. We have a buffer of trees or fence that covers it because her backyard looks directly at the main building. Thank you. There's about 5 or 6 of them, and it just shows you what she's looking at. She didn't get here in time to sign up to speak, so I'm going to speak for her.
That's fine.
It's much closer than maybe we just didn't understand it, but the building, we understood it originally was going to be closer to the front of the property and not so close to the back side of the street. We did not know about the daycare or the medical facility. We understand that plans change, business change, but we just feel like we should have, if been notified of these changes ahead of time, we could have discussed it or something, and none of that happened. If y'all would take the remaining time and at least look at the photographs and see what Ms. Blackledge's and most of the other houses on that side of the street are looking at similar. It's very close. I mean, it's right there.
Okay, that was your 3 minutes, I think. Did I just hear that? No? Go ahead.
But that's the main thing we don't know if there's going to be a security guard there at night. We don't know if there's going to be a gate. These are things that can be answered, but the main thing I'm adamant about is we have some sort of buffer that covers enough of it to where the property values on our homes that we've worked so hard for doesn't take a big hit. And trying to sell one of those homes, looking directly back at that facility, is not that it's an unattractive facility, it's going to be very nice. But I don't think anybody would want to be looking at that no matter who they were.
Okay, anything else?
No, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. That's all I have signed up in opposition. All right, Ms. McDeal.
Thank you. I'm here this evening on behalf of Caroline Oaks Baldwin, which is the property owner. It is also the operator of the long-term memory care facility. This facility is restricted to women. It was originally approved for more beds than we're actually developing there. As you all know, probably better than most people, residential development in Baldwin County has exploded, and so there are needs that go with that, such as long-term health care needs as well as daycare needs. This project is actually this request for rezoning is in conformance with the long-term plan because we're less than a mile from the mixed-use node. And you know that there's been tremendous alteration of the neighborhood and development along 181. So actually this rezoning is more in conformance with the long-term plan. So as to the concerns that have been expressed concerning buffering and fencing, the conversion to B1 where you have it neighboring a residential district would actually have those buffering requirements built into the zoning ordinance where you have that change in district. So that will be addressed. In addition, there has been discussion with the neighbors about a fence. As you can tell from some of the photographs, this project is under heavy construction. We're getting close to being done, but we don't do our landscaping and fencing until the end, and so that will be taken care of at that time. Obviously, we are developing a memory care facility that we will operate, and fencing and security is one of our primary concerns in taking care of our residents. So we will address that. If there are any questions of the commission, I'll be glad to use some of my remaining time to address those.
Okay, any questions for Ms. McDeal? Okay, thank you. Zeke Hudson, did you want to speak? All right, Kim Ward, do you want to speak? Nope. I'm sorry, Kim, you're on another item. It just showed up on in the wrong place. Okay, that's all I had signed up. Oh, I'm sorry, Jerry Latham.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. I think most of what Ms. McDill covered answers the questions. Largely, I just wanted to stand up and say that we're not finished with the project, so the fence will go up. We need the fence and privacy and security. If you were to entrust your loved one, your elderly mother or grandmother, a big part of what we offer our residents and our community is that it's a safe and secure and quiet place, as peaceful as possible. That's why we want you to entrust your loved one to us, and that's what we try to deliver. The plan only changed in terms of the location of the building because, unknown to us, the Baldwin County setback on what they deemed at that point a wetland issue related to the pond forced us to move the building back. The building is no bigger or larger or smaller or any different than it ever was. It's exactly what we proposed. We invited the residents of Somerset, I did, to come over to the existing building in Tillman's Corner, which is exactly the same height, same size, and I believe a couple of them took us up on that, but I wasn't there that day for that tour, so they had the opportunity to see it. It's the same building that it always was. There's no upstairs, second story, or anything like that where anyone's going to look over into a window. The people here, our residents, are elderly. They're dementia and Alzheimer's patients. They don't leave the building. They don't go outside except there's an indoor courtyard. There's a small walk area outside. So we try to make it feel open and a community feeling, but it's very nice. It is very nice. I'd invite anybody to come and see what we do. Very proud of it. We do operate it. So this will be my building for years to come. We wouldn't put a $12 million investment there and then treat it poorly or treat our neighbors poorly. I looked at the map. There's about 300 rooftops if you look at a quarter of a mile around there, and the other 290 or so people have not said anything about it, and I never have. So I understand that the folks in Somerset were a little, they wanted me to come to a meeting. It was a Sunday evening meeting, and I didn't have, I'd already made plans that week for to go deer hunting with my son. I don't get to see him very much. He lives in Tennessee, and so that's how I chose to spend my afternoon. And I did tell them that I wasn't going to be able to make it, so I didn't ignore them or not have wishes. I've tried to be respectful and return their phone calls. The vibration issue is regrettable, but part of compacting soils in our part of the world requires a vibratory packer when they're putting in the roads and the parking lots, and that's not going to be an ongoing thing. And if there's any damage that's been caused, we have insurance and we're liable for it. If we're found liable for it, we'll take care of it. So I'm sorry that they've become a little upset and concerned about the change. Finally, I don't know how much time I've got left. I didn't think to time myself, but the daycare is, daycare, it's children, and it is very compatible with senior care. So we'll have daycare available. There's a very large apartment complex that just went into business just north of us that you guys heard about. A lot of people need daycare. There's a very large need. The market survey from the developer for that has told me that there's a huge demand for childcare in that area. And the only thing left is the front lot. There would be one small lot and room for a small building, which is not yet designed. We haven't figured out what exactly it'll be, but again, I'm going to own the $12 million building in the back, which is senior care, and I want you to feel good when you come there and bring your elderly loved one or family member. We're not going to put anything out front that would be objectionable. The only intended uses I would put up with would be something like physical therapy, pediatrician, physician's office, some kind of medical service provider or whatever. All of these businesses that we're talking about have daytime traffic only. No one's there late at night. Okay. Any questions? If I have any
questions? Mr. Latham? Thank you, sir. Oh,
thank you.
All right.
Yes, sir. 8 feet. There's no requirement for it, but we agreed to an 8-foot fence from one end to the other, and that's what we'll do.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, I believe that's all I had signed up. Anybody else? All right. I'll close the public hearing. Any questions for staff? Ms. McKenzie, you have anything to add?
No, sir.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, I assume if this is approved, if this rezoning is approved, anything that gets developed there is still going to be subject to commission site plan?
Yes. It'll have to come back for commission site plan.
Thank you.
All right. No other questions. This is a recommendation of the county commission also.
I got one more question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bosch?
Looking back through the notes that y'all provided in the staff report, I see the rezoning to CR happened in 2021.
Yes, sir.
Was the assisted living facility a permitted use of CR?
It was a conditional use that was approved by this board.
Okay, I'm just trying to jog my memory on that. It's been a few years. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. The zoning for CR, was that due to all the wetlands in the area? Because it.
To my understanding, they rezoned it to CR because they tried to rezone it before, and that was the only thing they could get. They had to deal with the wetlands, though, when they developed it, and any future development will have to deal with whatever's there still.
Thanks.
I have something to say.
Go ahead, Mr. Bolton.
I noticed he made the statement that 8 foot is not required. So if somebody wants to make a motion to approve this, can we have that condition put in the the thing, saying
Not
we
for
want them?
rezoning, because they'll have to come back for a commission site plan approval for anything they actually
Okay.
do develop. But this
we'll
is just
see
the
it again.
rezoning.
All right.
And can you pull up the, it's titled Staff Analysis and Findings. Pull up that slide where it labels the Urban Mixed Use Center. The white circle on the top, is that the
Yes.
property location? Okay, so it's not in the Mixed Use Center.
No, ma'am,
No.
it's not in that mixed-use center, but it's kind of a logical expansion in the future of that to get farther out.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, I entertain a motion as a recommendation of the county commission.
Mr. Chairman, we make a recommendation of denial on this case to the county commission?
To recommend approval?
Denial.
Oh, denial, I'm sorry. All right, Mr. Bias
I'll
has made a
second.
motion to recommend denial to the county commission. That was second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. Bolton is second the motion. Any questions on the motion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
We'll do a roll call. I think I heard more than one.
Mr. Bias?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Mullet?
No.
Mr. Seibert?
Yes.
Mr. Boer?
Yes.
Ms. Stratiger?
Yes.
Mr. McKenzie?
Yes.
Ms. Burnett? No. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Bolton?
Yes.
Mr. Waters? Motion carries.
Okay, motion carries. All right, at this time, I'll open a public hearing for case number Z24-03, Vaughn property. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item?
Do y'all want to come pick up the photos that they passed down? I forgot who gave them.
Okay, Ms. Bates?
Okay, so this is ZV 24-3, the Vaughn property. They're asking to be rezoned from RA to B2. It's located in Planning District 22. The property is located at the southeast corner of County Road 87 and 32. The acreage is 2.52 acres, and the applicant is Broadway Group, and the owner is Robert Vaughn. The proposed zoning is B2. The applicant would like B2 for commercial development. We looked at the factor summary, and everything was met. Here's the locator map and the site map. The property to the north is unzoned in Planning District 13 and residential mixed use. The property to the south is zoned residential single family and vacant. And the property to the east is residential single family and vacant. And the property to the west is zoned RA and vacant. Staff's recommendation is approval unless information to the contrary is revealed at the public hearing. And I'll go back to any slides.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay. My notepad says we have no one signed up, is that right? Let me just ask you, did anybody sign up on this one? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I guess since no one has signed up or there's no representative for the requesting folks, I do find interesting in the photographs.
I apologize. I actually am here to represent I am with the Broadway group, and when I asked to sign up, I wasn't told I needed to. I thought you would automatically call the applicant up. I apologize.
Well, since you are the applicant, I'll let you go ahead, and if you want to add anything to our staff report, please do.
No, the only thing, I don't know if she would like to flip back, the only thing I wanted to point out is that the parcel that we are discussing here is a 5-acre parcel. We are actually looking to subdivide that parcel and only request rezone, as the picture shows, for 2.52 acres of that. It still allows us to meet all your setbacks and buffer requirements with adjoining being RA and residential. And so I just wanted to make sure you understood it was simply 2.52 acres versus a total of 5.
Okay? Perfect. All right.
All right? And I'll be glad to answer any other questions.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I still do. I notice in the photograph here, there, right in the middle of the photograph, if you will, there's a for sale sign. Now, does that indicate that this change is only being done to be able to sell this property?
No, sir. We are not yet. We are representing the current owner, Mr. Vaughn, until we can get all of our approvals. The sale of the property is not final. So he has left, I'm assuming, has left the sale sign up because we have not closed with him yet. We will take ownership of the property once we can fully permit our intended construction. Certainly.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Anybody have any other questions? This will also be a recommendation to the county commission. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. We recommend approval of this rezoning request to the county commission.
Mr. Sybert's made a motion to recommend approval to the county commission. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Is that Mr. Mullet?
Yes.
Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. Who was my no vote? Robert? Okay, at this time, let's see. Is everybody good to continue? All right, we're going to go on. We'll take a break here shortly. At this time, then, we'll open the public hearing for case number Z24-04, the Lewis property. Does anybody need to declare any prior communication on this item? Ms. Rhodes?
All right. This is a rezone request for Z24-4, the Lewis property. The request is to rezone 5 acres from RA to B3. The subject property is located in Planning District 22. It's located on the south side of US Highway 98 and west of County Road 97 in Alberta. The current use is agriculture. The applicant and owner is Mr. Michael Lewis. The proposed zoning is for B3, General Business District, and the request is the applicant would like to rezone for a golf driving range. Here are the 11 factors we look at in a rezone request, and the request has met all of the factors except for one. Here's a locator map and the site map. You can see the adjacent zoning to the north and south is RA with agricultural and residential land use respectively. And then to the east and west, we see both B4, major commercial, as well as RA, and the adjacent land uses are agricultural and residential. And here's kind of closer up look at the locator map and the site map. And staff's recommendation for this case is approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff? All right, I don't know who's in control of the pad. Again, do I not see anybody signed up for this? None? Okay. So I have no one signed up. Was there anybody here representing the applicant? Do you want to speak? Okay. All right, I'll ask, does anybody have any questions? Okay, Greg.
Yeah, this is really a question for the applicant. And if, you're planning on developing a golf driving range, I assume there's going to be, and granted, you'll have to come back for a commission site plan approval, but I assume you're going to have netting and all of that.
Yes, sir. There was a drawing. I'm not sure if they've got it up there, but there'll be netting around the entire 5 acres, buffering on each side. It'll just be where you come up and pay with a credit card.
Mhm.
Balls fall out. Really no employees out there. Landscaping company take care of it. Pretty simple.
Okay,
There'll be
thank you.
a 50-foot net all the way around there.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Ms. Rhodes, you don't have anything else to add?
No, sir.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval.
Okay, Mr. Mullick has made a motion that we recommend to the county commission approval.
Second that motion.
Is that Bill?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Booyer has seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's do this one other rezoning item, and then we'll take a break before we go to our subdivisions. So we'll open now the public hearing for case number Z24-05, the Curtis property. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? Ms. Boykin?
All right. This is a request to rezone about 3 acres. It consists of 3 parcels. It is currently zoned RV2, which is an RV park district. It's located in Planning District 21 on the north side of County Road 26 and west of Grantham Road. The applicant is asking for RR, which is a rural district, and the applicant's proposed use is a restaurant. Here you can see on the table of permitted uses, a restaurant is permitted in RR. Here's the locator map and the site map. There is some RV2 to the east of the subject property, and there is also some RSF1 that surrounds it. Some of that RSF1 property is a dirt pit, and then just right down the road is some M1 zoning. Here are the factors. 4 factors met. There was 2 that didn't, and then a couple that were questionable. Though staff has concerns about the industrial commercial uses available in RR zoning, staff acknowledged that the most intense uses within RR zoning automatically trigger a commission site plan approval. As a result, staff has recommended approval for this rezoning request.
Okay, any questions for staff?
I'm assuming these 3 lots are larger than the minimum lot size for RR, is that correct?
Total, they're 3 acres.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I have only Mr. Scott Curtis signed up to speak. Do you wish to come up?
Good evening, y'all. I'm just here to recommend, represent the property, basically. Got any questions? So,
Okay.
on behalf
Anybody
of the
have any
property.
questions for Mr. Curtis?
Well, I'll be right here if you need.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The only question I have is, this has been rezoned a couple of times here recently, and,
Applied for, we didn't.
yeah, I'm sorry?
It was applied for. We did rezoning years back to RB2.
That's,
The
referring to
reason I
that.
went from RB2, a different direction, the subdivision rules changed to do hard surface paving. It's not really feasible.
Do you have a restaurant or potential restaurant, or will it be just a local restaurant being done there?
Neighborhood restaurant.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is that it, Bill? Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Okay. This also is a recommendation to the county commission. Entertain a motion.
I would make a motion that we recommend approval.
Okay, Mr. Bullock has made a motion that we recommend approval to the county commission. Have a second?
A second.
Ms. Stratiger, second the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, do we need to take a break or not? All right, we're going to take about a 5-minute break. We are making a shift in our agenda at this time. We've been doing rezoning. We're now going to subdivisions. It's a little bit different than what you heard. So if you're not familiar with our meetings, rezoning, our zoning cases are quite different. Subdivisions, we don't talk about use. We're talking about division of property. Folks, applicants in many cases make application for the subdivision. We're looking to see that they meet the conditions that are outlined in the subdivision regulations. And we're not looking at what they're building on the property, the use, we're just looking at the division of land. So hopefully that'll explain a little bit. With further explanation, we'll do that as we get to some of these, because some of these are different, but we'll go through them and explain what we need to as we go along. So the first item on the subdivision cases is PUD 24-01, which is the County Road 38 Manufactured Home Park. We'll open the public hearing on this. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item?
All right, I'll go
Okay,
again
Ms.
then.
Mitchell.
This is a 7-site manufactured home park. This is in Plan District 18. This is on the east side of County Road 38, east of the Baldwin Beach Express, and approximately 2 miles northeast of Summerdale. And I just want to point out that there's an active code case on this because they have exceeded the 2 dwellings that are allowed per parcel, and that's why the applicant is coming back in and going through the proper channels to create a manufactured home park according to the PUD process. And this is a layout that shows the 7 proposed sites. The utility letters have been provided, fire protection, they've tested the fire flow and that meets the ISO requirements. Drainage improvements have been recommended. They'll be putting in a detention pond here in the southwest corner. They will have trash service rollout carts, and so that would be provided for each individual home, much like you would have in a typical neighborhood. And in the staff reports, there was one condition of approval regarding the updated title, but they provided that since the agenda was published. So the condition has been met, so at this point, we're recommending approval without conditions other than the usual general conditions that apply to all PUDs. Any questions?
All right, any questions for staff?
I have one. This is one we're bringing into compliance. What is the paving material will access these 7 sites?
They have to be paved according to county standards. So you can't use gravel or dirt, unless they have some sort of special, like if they apply for some sort of waiver or exception. But in this case, it is a private road, but it still has to meet county standards for pavement.
A second question is on the septic systems. I see Septic North. I guess that services the top 3 lots that I guess I'm looking at the septic system on the other side of the road, and it may be a question for the engineer about, exactly how that works.
And I defer to Chris Lieb. He is here this evening to answer that question.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I only have one. Chris?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm just here to answer any other questions that you may have. And as far as the septic system goes, there will be a collection system of septic tanks, and it will travel under the road to the septic systems. So it's been fully engineered by a septic designer to meet the standards, and the health department has signed off on this.
One other that you may be able to clarify quickly, that detention pond looks very close to lots 2 and 3. I mean, almost like it abuts back. I mean, it may be, I'm sure it's within specs, but and it may not be a very much of a detention pond, but it looks like those lots 2 and 3 are right there at.
Yes, they are in close proximity, but the slopes on the detention ponds are 3-to-1 slopes, so you can easily mow them with a riding lawnmower. So it's not like there's just a cliff behind those entities.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Lee?
How will people access site, or I guess, home number 4, site number 4?
So currently, there's a gravel driveway, that is, I didn't show it on my plans, but there is a gravel driveway that goes to that unit
Okay.
off of the asphalt road.
So I'm assuming, because I'm trying to look at an aerial at the same time here, are
Yeah, you can't really see it, but you can, there is a road back here. It's just hard to tell in this image the way they have the yellow box drawn, but there is one that goes back there.
Are the existing homes going to be reconfigured, I guess, to match the PUD?
One of them is going, let's see, I believe one of them is going to remain, but the other ones will be reconfigured to match
Okay.
this. So this is what it will look like after they're done developing it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes.
These sites are leased?
I don't, I believe it's like a family type thing. I don't believe they're leasing to the public, but I don't know for certain.
No plan, I mean, well, I guess the question is, this is a PUD, but plans to subdivide or not? We're not subdividing.
At this point, they're all under unified ownership, so they might lease them, but they could not sell them individually at this point. They would have to come back to subdivide the property.
Okay.
So at this
Yeah.
point, they're all under one owner.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
And I had I just want to clarify one thing with the detention ponds. We had noticed the proximity to those buildings as well and brought that up, and the permit engineer has agreed. We're going to look at this further in the construction plan review to see if that pond does need to be made perhaps like longer, narrower, so there's more of a gap, but that is something we will look into during the construction plan review phase.
Okay. All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
I have no one else signed up, so I will close the public hearing. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve subject to staff conditions.
Okay, Mr. Vice made a motion, we approve. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Greg has seconded the motion. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, at this time then we'll open the public hearing for case number SC 24-02, which is the J Cattle subdivision. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item?
All right, good evening, everyone. This is subdivision preliminary plat request SC 24-02 for J Cattle subdivision. The request before the planning commission for this is for the subdivision of one existing parcel into three. It is for the...
Tyler, you may have to bring your mic up. I think they're having a hard time hearing.
Is that better? Is that better for everybody? So again, the request before the planning commission for this is for a three-lot subdivision of one existing parcel. This subject property is located in Planning District 15. It is located just on the south side of County Road 54 at the intersection of County Road 54 and County Road 54 East, again in Planning District 15, and it is zoned RA. The requested application for this is for a subdivision only. There is no zoning change requested for this subject property. No traffic impact studies required due to it being less than 50 lots. The drainage narrative has been reviewed and accepted by the Baldwin Planning and Zoning Permit Division. No new streets or roads were also proposed in this application. Here you can see a image of the plat. The largest lot being Lot 1A, which is over 63 acres. And then on the southwest side, you have Lot 1B being over 21 acres, and the smallest lot being Lot 1C, which is 18.722 acres. Again, neither a zoning change nor any type of change to the current land use is requested at this time. This is just a subdivision of one existing parcel into three smaller lots. This is an aerial map of the subject property along with the zoning map. Again, it is zoned RA. Here is the utilities. This is the drainage narrative that was reviewed and accepted. A note has been put in here that any further division will require a new subdivision application and consideration by the Planning Commission, along with any roadway or drainage improvements required by a further division will be evaluated with a future subdivision application. Due to all this, staff recommends approval with the general conditions listed below.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay. Mr. Hunter Smith, I know you're representing the applicant. Do you want to speak?
Only if you got a question.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant's representative? All right, we have several in opposition. May call about in a moment. Just hang on. All right, Natalie Jones. All right, Tampa Sikora. And Glenn was next, so you can both come on up.
I'm going to give him some of my time. Thank you. My name is Tampa Sikora. I live at 12001 County Road 54, which is where east and west meet. My driveway is right there. And I just have to say, I went to Robertsdale High School from 1st through 12th grade, same building. I love this county as you do. And the infrastructure is just not working anymore. I want to talk to you for a second about safety. So many accidents happen right at my driveway. So many so that we can't even get out of our driveway for hours at a time because there's traffic coming from Silver Hill. There's traffic. I don't even know the words to use for the traffic problems we have. The infrastructure is not there, and that we don't have stores. We don't have grocery stores. We don't have. Bell Forest Elementary is a beautiful school. Have they been contacted about all the homes that have gone in at Jubilee Farms as well as the new Harvest East and West? It's huge. All the houses that are going on out there. I love Baldwin County. I grew up on a farm. I know. And I'm the kind that I respect our farmers, and I respect people who own their land and need to do what they need to do with it for their family's sake, but this has gotten out of hand. I can't get out of my driveway. Go ahead.
Okay. Could I have you pull up that aerial view of the plot? Okay. This is where we live, right here. And there's a drainage ditch that comes down this road that goes to Fish River, which is right over here. Hurricane Sally, this whole area flooded right here. We couldn't even get out of our driveway.
For days.
It backs up, it floods in this whole area. Cars were coming through water if they could get through at all. So the drainage in this area is terrible. So anything that's built up here that drains is going to go this way towards Fish River. Through our property, our driveway's eroding. I've called the county about it.
It's a paved driveway.
And the property's eroding, my driveway's eroding because that ditch goes right through there. So we have a big complaint about the drainage right there on that corner.
As well as the accidents. It's very scary and for us.
2 months ago, I had I couldn't get out of my driveway because there was a huge accident on that corner right there at County Road 54 East and West. And they take out our fence sometimes, the accidents, they hit the telephone pole there. There's just accidents there. People have found out that they can get to the school, the new school over there, by coming down County Road 54 West now, and then cut over to east and then come up behind the school, which makes a huge congestion there in the morning and the afternoons of people cutting that way now. So the traffic there is getting bad. There's not the infrastructure of the highways there to take care of this.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
We don't want to take.
Judy, and I'm not sure about your last name. Is it Naif?
Yes, sir.
It's Judy Naif, and I live at 12480 Daya Lane. I have been there since 1990. We have way too many subdivisions out there. Not only when we have hurricanes, but just a slight bit of water will cover that whole 54. And the Sequoias live right next to me, and we've seen the wrecks. We go out to get our mail, and we've seen the wrecks. So they've been trying to push this subdivision in now for several years, and we just don't want it. You guys wouldn't want it. It's nothing but a headache. The schools are overcrowded. The traffic is terrible. The drainage is terrible. We don't want it, and you guys wouldn't want it. So please vote it down. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let me clarify one thing. I think you all have valid concerns, but just be sure you understand, so we're only looking at the very large. I suspect what you both are concerned about is what would happen after this is done. Tonight, we're only dealing with these 3 large tracks.
We understand that.
If it ended here tonight, I think most of you'd be glad if that's all they did was do these 3 large tracks.
Right.
So your concerns probably would be more valid if they decide to re-subdivide these properties. And if they do, they're going to have to resubmit to us. If they're going to break these down into smaller lots, you're going to get another public notice on it, and you'll have another opportunity to speak to it. But tonight, we're only looking at the large tracts. And
Well, we saw that it was 55 lots.
that's
So
not
that
on-
kind of
that's not on our agenda.
I know, but we
So-
kind of clued us in.
That's why I want to clarify.
Yeah,
That's
I
not what we're doing
understand
tonight.
that. We're perfectly understanding that.
Okay.
So we'll have another go at it.
Yes.
But we did see it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? I didn't have anybody
I would
else.
say we didn't see it in our material.
I'm sorry?
We did not see that in our material.
No.
Okay, I just wanted to clear
Yeah,
out
that
was
large,
a-
whatever division of property you saw for lots, that's not something even the staff has seen. So if you've seen something, that's not even been submitted to the county for even consideration.
But is that not the first step to get to that?
They have to rezone it.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things that have to take place, so tonight it's just these 3 large lots. All right, that's all I had signed up to speak. I'm going to close the public hearing on that. Does anybody have any questions for staff? Tyler, do you have anything else?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, with that, then I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve, subject to staff conditions.
All right, Mr. Bice made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Mr. Seibert seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, 1 opposed. Okay. All right, we'll open public hearing now for case number SPP 23-30, Savannah Estates Phase 2. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item? All right, Ms. Booth?
Good evening. So this is going to be on page 249 of your printed agenda. This is for preliminary plat approval for a 121-lot subdivision located in Planning District 15. It is currently zoned RSF2, also PRD. This is your proposed layout. So again, the subject property is located on the east side of County Road 54 West, approximately 2,000 feet north of County Road 64, near the city of Daphne, Planning District 15. This is for Phase 2, which is 121 lots. They're proposing 6,786 linear feet of streets that will be dedicated to the county. There was a traffic study that was back in 2020. We have requested that to be updated, and that is required to be submitted with their construction plans review, and will be reviewed and assessed by our department. If there's any other traffic improvements that's needed, then we'll recommend that they get those installed and show that on their construction plans as well. So drainage improvements have been reviewed. There are no wetlands that are present on site. This is just a summary of prior approvals. So again, the traffic impact study is to be updated, and there'll be conditions of approval that's further in the staff report. There's a wetland delineation and the drainage calculations. So this was previously, previous highway comment and condition approval number 2. I believe you all may have already read that. So staff does recommend approval with the following conditions. An updated traffic impact study is underway and will be required to be submitted with the construction plan review. They did meet with the Baldwin County Highway Department and Planning and Zoning to discuss what is to be included within that traffic study. Preliminary plat approval is conditioned upon review and approval of the traffic study. A reclamation plan for the former soil borrow pit, which will be included in a geotechnical report, will be prepared to the satisfaction of the county engineer and shall be included with the application for the construction plan review. The county has also engaged a third-party engineer to assist with the preparation of that geotech report, and that will also be reviewed and accepted by the county. So preliminary plat approval is conditioned upon review and approval of the soil borrow pit reclamation plan. The borrow pit shall contain a stabilization plan for the existing borrow pit area. The geotechnical information and stabilization plan to be included within the reclamation plan may alleviate staff's concerns regarding construction of roadways over a former borrow pit and acceptance of the roads for maintenance. The applicant's obligations related to the development agreement for funding of a turn lane on County Road 64 shall be satisfied prior to its expiration of the agreement on May 17, 2024. Preliminary plat approval and subdivision permit approval are conditioned upon satisfaction of the agreement. Included within the request for the construction plan review submission, we have requested they do provide us an updated sanitary sewer letter from Baldwin County Sewer with their treatment facility located in Spanish Fort, that they still have the capacity and capability to treat this development. We memorialize that all other deficiencies identified in the preliminary plat review have been cured, and this approval is subject to compliance with all of Baldwin County subdivision regulations. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Mary, who's the third-party geotechnical firm?
Thompson Engineering.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Yes, ma'am.
Pardon me. Pardon me. Phase 3, do you know where it's going to be? Is it going to be further in the borrow pit, or?
It'll be the borrow pit will be part of it, and it's going to be to the east and north of there. And then some of it, I'm not sure if they're going to go south with it or not yet. I think that's going to be it's owned separately. So I think that they would have to get it rezoned if they want to continue further south.
Got it. Thank you.
And again, that would actually also come back to y'all for review too when they come in with phase 3.
Any other questions?
How, what we're calling a borrow pit, I'm assuming it's just a regular dirt pit that the soil's been mined from?
It's an extensive dirt pit.
It's an extensive dirt pit, okay? I'm looking at one of the aerial images is phase 1, I guess, is already outlined on the north side.
Yes, sir. It's on the west side of, it comes off of 54, and that's phase 1, and then that's going to be also the entrance to phase 2.
Phase 1 was not in part of this borrow pit.
It does not appear to be, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I always ask staff every time we have a project near here, but how's 64 plans coming along? Do we know?
Yes, we do.
Can you share it with us?
We can. We're still in the process of acquiring right-of-way, but we have got it down to a handful of properties at this point. There are some phasing we will do first. Once we have all the right-of-way, our first phase will be utility relocations, and then we'll be able to get started on the roadway widening project. We also have several, including in that widening project, will be several intersection improvement projects that we're currently working with AlDOT and the various developers on the warrants for possibly some signalized intersection improvements along that 64 corridor to help with the traffic in that area.
How far east are you going with your plans?
All the way to where Fish River crosses County Road 64.
Okay. Beyond this?
Yes, sir.
I thought so. All right, any other questions?
Yes. Zone is RS2. How are the lot sizes doing that?
They are meeting it because it's a PUD. It's a PRD. So they have reduced lot sizes, yes, sir. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Then I have one other question. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
The density is calculated by the entire parcel, correct? Is that correct?
Well, when it goes to a PRD, then they're allowed to do reduced lot sizes, and then the density comes into a different matter.
Yes.
Yes, it will meet the density for RSF2, though. I
Right.
apologize.
So just say 4 units per acre because of the overall density, but they can put the 4 units per acre in 3/4 of the property,
Yes, ma'am.
just for simplicity.
ma'am.
When staff looks at that and looks at the overall area, do you look at usable property? Or, it just seems like the borrow pit would not be able to be calculated as usable property.
It's going to be filled.
Pardon?
The borrow pit will be filled.
But is it usable after it's filled?
No. No, because the lots will be constructed over the existing borrow pit. It's going to be filled.
The geotechnical report, the point of that is to show that the ground is stable after filling. So that's
Correct.
the point of that report. If you see, can you kind of see the contour lines in yellow here? You can see they're steep and they do cut through some of the lots. Those contour lines reflect what it looks like now. But in theory, that will all be leveled and filled. And that, again, that's what the geotechnical report has to establish, that that is safe and stable enough to build on after filling, not in its current condition.
Okay, thank you.
All
That
right, any other
geotech-
questions?
I just have one more comment just to Ms. Diane. The geotech report will be thoroughly reviewed, and if those conditions are not met within the geotech report to satisfy safe building and safe construction and safe roads, then we will not issue a subdivision permit for construction.
Okay. I do have a couple signed up representing the applicant. Aaron Collins, did you want to speak? And I have David signed up too if you want to come up.
We'll probably have to field some questions. Aaron Collins, SC Civil. As Mary stated, this is part of a PRD approval back in 2020. We were not on this project during phase one. We were taking over after phase one. To answer your question on density, we've calculated the entire property, right? But we still can't exceed what the original PRD approval was 4 units per acre. So, and with that, if you guys have any additional questions or the public has any questions, I'd be willing to answer those.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Diane?
Just a comment. Would never suggest that the Baldwin County would approve anything that was unsafe. I was really looking at the area north of this.
Yes, ma'am.
That not necessarily in the subdivision that's platted out now, in the north of this. What's
That's more lots. If you can you go back to the overall
Yeah.
PRD?
Mhm. Yep.
So this is the overall right
Okay.
here. So we're right here in this middle and kind of southeast
Right.
corner there.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is the area that's on this map that is undeveloped is actually unusable, is where I'm going with this.
No, ma'am.
It's not unusable.
No, ma'am. And that's what the staff has put in all of the geotechnical requirements for a reason, to make sure that we're still meeting those requirements.
Okay. Just a comment, an overall comment. A lot of houses in a small space.
Sure.
And not really seeing a neighborhood development that I see in other areas because of the product that's being put on the type of house that's trying to do it. I know there's a need and I know there's a market, or it wouldn't be here, but I think we can do, the Planning Commission and I think the staff need to come up with a better product to provide our residents.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all.
All right, any other questions?
I do. Aaron,
Yes, sir.
any idea how much dirt it's going to take to fill this thing up?
I'd have to let you guys talk to Dave. There's some cut areas, there's some fill areas, but I can't really speak to quantities.
So, I guess back to your question, they will be grading the entire site with this to kind of rough grade the future phase, so it will be usable space. And we are overall going to have excess material. We are grading down to match where they're at as much as possible, but it will be a net cut site, not a net fill, meaning they'll have extra dirt.
So, just on average, across the whole subdivision, any guesstimate on what you're going to be bringing in? I mean, it's hard for me to believe you're going to have extra dirt, or a dirt pit.
I mean, we can't really quantify the dirt because it was an active dirt pit when we did the survey, so I don't have a accurate number. It's going to be 100,000 cubic yards or more.
I have a comment. We did this, I think, once before. We were dealing with some wetlands on a case, and these were non-jurisdictional wetlands, but as we were filling the non-jurisdictional wetlands, I don't know if we required that they put a disclaimer that this was, fill dirt in a non-jurisdictional wetland. As we go in and put these house pads, it's 121, and a lot of them are going to land over the dirt pit that, yes, we're going to pack it, but I mean, we owe these future residents the knowledge of knowing that there is 40 or 60 feet of fill and that we put back. I mean, is there something that we need as we go into a project of, yes, it's reclaiming a dirt pit, but boy, we're putting the most intense use and a real high value, a lot of dollars worth of value on that dirt pit on top of it, and do we owe these future residents a disclaimer that that is what they're getting? Question mark.
I think on that
Do we tell them on the plat or on a lot, on a title of what this is so that they know?
I think the last time we had that, if I remember correctly, we put on the plat the lots that were going to be, I believe, affected by the fill-in there. Does anybody remember that?
Yes, that was the Highlands at Fish River case, and we did have a note on the plat that said, whatever lots 10 through 12 are in a filled non-jurisdictional wetland or something like that, but there was a note on the plat.
I would make the recommendation to whoever may make this recommendation, that if we do that, the lots that are affected by the borrow pit, that we have a notation on the plat that these are the lots that have been filled. That would be my recommendation.
So, yeah, just to speak on that, there aren't any wetlands on this site.
I think we're talking about the dirt pit.
Yeah, we're not saying there is. We just had another job where we did have wetlands and they were allowed to fill it. We required that they note the plat that there were fill material, since we're putting so much fill material on this site, not wetlands, but a borrow pit, filling it. The question is, do we need to put a note on the plat that forewarns a future buyer that you're buying a lot that's been filled excessively? These aren't small amounts, so that's not saying we will. That's just a question we got to
Yeah, and
figure
it's
out.
not 40 to 50 feet of fill, but we are going through the geotechnical process with the county and their to make sure everything's stable. And I mean, we had a scoping meeting with the county last week, or just earlier this week, and our geotech is working with their geotech to figure out scope and make sure everything can be stabilized.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one other comment, I'm sorry. I see your whole development, and the part that's outside of the development on the northwest corner, are you going to include that in the overall, when you bring in your next phase as open space, or demonstrate how it's going to be usable property as part of this development?
Yeah, to the northwest of that's a different subdivision.
That's not part of yours? So yours is, okay, the development, that's outside your development?
Theirs is only what is colored on this map.
Okay. Thank you. So then there, okay.
Okay.
Well,
Any other questions?
I'm making shed some light on this. I'm the owner, Kevin Kersier. This is a balance. We're not bringing in any dirt. We've got dirt on site. This is a state-certified dirt pit. I've owned this thing since 2002. We bought the property to the south. We've come in there and reclaimed a bunch of it. We've got an approved PUD in place, or a PRD in place on this thing. So there's no 40 to 60 foot of fill. I think in our worst case areas where a detention pond's going, there might be 20 foot of fill going right there. But all the material's coming off site, and there's actually going to be about 150 to 200,000 yards of material that we're going to have to move off the site to get rid of it because we're going to have too much dirt. And I think somebody asked the question about how much dirt it is that we're moving. Overall, it's going to be about 300,000 yards. I've already moved 200,000 on phase one, and phase one is sitting on top of where we did have a part of the borrow pit.
okay.
And that is, utilities are in, we're getting ready to get a curb on it, and it'll be paved by the end of next month. So, any other questions on any of that?
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
But it's not.
All right, have no one signed up to speak other than the representatives? Did you come in, did you hear my request?
I own the north to south property all the way down that pit. And that,
But you have to come up to, I'll let you speak. Come on up to the mic.
I ain't gonna take long, but they showing
You have to give us your name and address.
Mike Hayes at 11305D, County Road 64. I own 3 parcels on the south side of that pit, that hole. And that shows phase one. They've already developed mostly half of all the way over, filled that in and got lots on fill. That don't show that where that pit is. And they're cutting the property down right behind my line, pulling that dirt to fill in the hole, just straight down. I don't know how that's gonna affect wash. I mean, they're cutting through the tree roots, and I don't know what their plan is to fill that 50-foot hole up, but that's sort of deceiving. It shows that not being developed, but they already got lots on phase 2 by what that shows. Anyway, I've been against it. And then we got the traffic issues and And, you know, the school's already putting in portables, and you're talking about every time they put a house, that's 2, 3 more vehicles. It just seems like they get the infrastructure up to date before you just keep putting more and more subdivisions, especially in that. You ought to look at that place, and you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, that's all I got to say.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, I'm closing the public hearing then. Spook, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Anybody have any other questions? Keep in mind, this is a PUD that's been approved, so this is just subdivision from that PUD approval. And for the gentleman just spoke, we're not approving construction. They still have to get their construction plans approved through the engineering department, make sure that everything's on the up and up, drainage, utilities, all that has to go through them. We're just only approving the plat, making sure it complies with the PUD. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve subject to staff conditions.
Okay, Mr. Box made a motion to approve. That was second.
Could I add to Mr. Bias's recommendation for approval that
you can suggest it's up to
can I suggest that we recognize the lots that have been affected by the borrow pit to be delineated on the plat?
Would that happen at this point, or would that be on final plat when we would look to do that?
Well, I think if you're going to approve the subdivision, that,
I don't get it.
I mean, I think you would say the lots that are going to be located on there. I don't know why you wouldn't do it now.
Okay.
So that's up to you if you want.
Because I'm just thinking if you wait till final plat, they may not, I feel they need to be aware of that condition so they can keep track of it between maybe
Yeah.
now and final plat, is just what I'm thinking.
That's a good point. Yeah, we could add that condition.
Okay. We'll talk about that. So you've amended your motion to include that request?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Who was that? Mr. Davis? Okay. So the motion is to approve with the conditions, with the added condition of delineating on the plat lots that are over this field. So I'm going to ask the question at this point, how much field? 1 foot of field, 10 foot of field? Who's going to make that determination? If there's not that much, then is it necessary to have that note? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think as we work with them on the geotechnical report and all of the fill that's going to go in, and we'll identify what areas are cut, which areas are filled. We'll have a better understanding once that process plays out on how much fill we're talking about and which lots. So we're more or less going to need a survey of existing conditions and cross sections of what the final grading plan is to make that determination. We had our initial meeting on Monday to go over the parameters of the study. That's something we'll be working with them on for the duration until we're comfortable with what the fill is going to be in this area.
Well, I say that because having been in the business, I know that there's a lot of earthwork done on just about every development we do. It used to just be roadways. Now they cut the entire sites down. There's a lot of cut and fills on lots on every subdivision. Yeah. So we're talking about something here that's almost done in every development. So I'm just trying to figure out at what point is it an issue that we would want to.
Yeah, and the term excessive fill has not been determined, and that's something I think we'll know when we see those cut and fill lines. If we really believe that it is excessive, it may not be when we see the final grade of the subdivision.
All right, well, the motion's on the floor to approve with that statement in the motion. So, and it's been seconded. Anybody have any questions on the motion? All right, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Was there anybody else other than Greg? Not to single him out.
No, I'm the Lone Ranger.
Yeah. All right, motion carries. Okay. Open public hearing now for case number STP 24-01, the Casella subdivision. Does anybody need to declare prior communication on this item?
All right, Mr. Chairman, this is the request for a 4-lot subdivision located in Planning District 12. The subject property is located south of County Road 68 and west of the Baldwin Beach Express near Buc-ee's. This is located in Planning District 12, currently zoned RA. The total property area to be divided is approximately 15 acres, and it, as mentioned, consists of 4 lots. The smallest lot will be 3 acres, and the largest lot will be 6 acres. A traffic study was not required due to the lot count. A drainage narrative was prepared and accepted by the Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Permit Division. Wetlands were identified and a wetlands delineation was done on the property. And there will be approximately 948 linear feet of roadway that will be petitioned, that will be built to county standards and petitioned to the county commission as approval for a private road. Here is your layout of lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here is your zoning map, your aerial map, your utility letters, drainage, your wetlands delineation was reviewed and accepted with the proper buffers shown. And staff's recommendation is for approval with the following conditions. For section 551 for private street, if the proposed Casella Drive shall be constructed according to the requirements of the design standards for new road construction, and with submission of the request for subdivision permit, the applicant shall submit a request to the county commission to approve Casella Drive as a private road within the development. If it is not the pleasure of the county commission to approve Casella Drive as private and they want to have that public, the preliminary plat may be altered slightly to reflect public right-of-way to be dedicated to Baldwin County. And the subdivision permit will reflect the approval or non-approval of the private road. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff?
I have a question.
Mhm.
During the work session, we talked about the letter from BCSS being expired.
Yes,
And that
ma'am.
we would add that as a condition.
That's fine. I'll go ahead and type that here.
Any other questions for staff?
I have a question. Mentioned it in work session. I mean, I guess, I don't know, Lot 3 without that, it seems like we're creating an interior lot with no, I hate to say guaranteed access. I mean, this is not built with I guess,
I'm gonna
a
zoom
flagship thing to each lot. I know they're requesting it to be private, but are we creating a lot that's sold in the future or whatever as a problem?
So the developer will be building this road, and therefore the road that's being built to county standards will provide road frontage for lot 3, 2, 1, 4, and 1. I'm not sure I'm following your question.
I guess when they want to keep it private road, it's not a public road. I mean, there's no access to lot 3. You know, if something changes, in 5 years and they don't become friends, well, how do I get to lot 3?
Through the road that's being built all the way to lot 4.
But it's private. It's not it's not count. Is it, the question may be that's it and it's public and, as there's no flagship lot line that, or, you know, I don't want to say public access, just making sure we don't make ourselves a problem.
Mr. Chairman, may I interject? The subdivision regulations clearly allow division of property on lots as long as they front upon or have access from a paved road. And so the subdivision regulations contemplate this very scenario where someone constructs a private road. They construct a private road, and it's ultimately the pleasure of the county commission to approve it or deny it. County commission denies it, then if they want to build the subdivision, they'll have to build the road and dedicate it to the county. In terms of access and neighbors feuding and that sort of thing, you know, obviously it's probably good due diligence to make certain they have any necessary ingress, egress easements to make it work. But the subdivision regulations allow subdivisions on private paved roads.
Okay, any other questions? All right,
I'm
I
going to
have a few-
finish adding my condition on the sewer letter here as y'all discuss.
All right, I have a few signed up. Chris Lee, do you want to add anything? I know you represent the applicant.
Good evening again, Chairman and Commissioners. To answer your question, there's going to be an easement dedicated on the deeds that provide access to all these lots. And we have to build the road before we can come back and get final plat approval. So they will have permanent deeded access in perpetuity. And I'll take any other questions if you have any.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, sir. All right, I have Stephen Highnote.
Yes, I'm Stephen Highnote, and I live at County Road 71, address 27637. Anyway, I'm just south of the proposed piece. I've lived right there on that corner of 68 and 71 for 32 years. Mr. Casella, the property owner, has already put in a double wide and driveways and did not get the proper permit to begin with on doing that on an adjacent lot that he owns, which is the L-shaped piece up there. Anyway, him putting in the driveway that he put in on that piece has backed water up on my side of the fence. So, and the drainage ditch runs all the way down through all these lots. Whenever they go to putting them in, what is that going to do? I already have one pond. I don't need another one. And if he didn't follow all the proper protocol and permits to do all of this and follow the 40-foot setbacks, which county employee is going to sit in a pickup truck out there and watch him while they do all of this on these 4 lots? And my thing is, I'm sure at some point someone's going to say, well, it's up for the community and the neighbors to, you know, report any activity. Well, my time is valuable. So do we need to discuss an hourly rate at my time or take it off my property taxes next year? Because I'm tired of outsiders moving in to Baldwin County and you all allowing them to build these subdivisions and divide this and divide that. It's been said several times tonight that the county's growing and we all get it and we understand it, but at some point the infrastructure has got to be developed. Buc-ee's is 2 miles down the road. On a Saturday afternoon in July, you cannot pull out from 71 onto 68. You can come sit right there and you can watch accident after accident. And we are tired of it. So with all that being said, just not asking that you turn it down, but maybe just table it, do some further digging. They claim that those aren't wetlands down in there, but I've lived on that piece of property before. My grandfather owned it at one time. I have seen cattle sunk up to their ears in that bottom, and we've walked away from them because there's nothing, you can't get anything down in there to them. I run cows on the east side of my fence. The water that's backed up whenever Mr. Casella starts having issues with mosquitoes and he throws tablets in there to kill the mosquitoes, and my cattle drink that water out of that ditch. Who's responsible for my cattle being poisoned? And I'm not sure if any of y'all have cows, but right now the cattle market is on fire, and I cannot afford to lose any of my beef, my livestock, or anything that is going to be a direct cause from Mr. Casella. And I thank you for your time, and that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, Dan Middleton.
Yes, my name's Dan Middleton. I own 90 acres adjacent to this property. I've never met the man. He moved in there and put a double-wide trailer in, put it too close to the property line, had to move it, couldn't get permits to get power, finally got power, crossed 2 wetland bottoms. I didn't get any notification of tonight, so how do I get notification in the future? And how do we make sure that he's doing it right? Because he's already broke every rule he could there.
We've sent out notices to all adjoining property owners, and we'd be happy to go over our certified list to make sure that you were included. We can check that for you after this meeting.
Well, the postal person out there said only one person got notified. So I think there must be more that's not notified, but I have no notification.
And keep in mind, we have to follow the addresses listed on the Baldwin County Revenue website. So if any addresses are not current, unfortunately, those letters just will go to wherever those addresses are designated to.
I get all of the tax notifications. So,
Another neighbor as well, Mr. Dirk Tyson.
thank you. Is that all for
All
me?
right, yeah, thank you. All right. That's all I had signed up. I'm going to close the public hearing. Ms. Waters, you have anything else?
No,
I know
sir.
you said you added that one item.
I sure did.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for staff? Or any questions in general? All right. No questions. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion we approve with the conditions set forth by staff.
All right. Mr. Davis made a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Is that Diane? Okay. Ms. Burnett has made a motion to, or has seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? And Mr. Bolton? That motion carries. All right. Next item. Ms. Mitchell, is this a public hearing?
Variance requests. Are variance requests public hearings? They are? Yes. Yes, it is.
Open the public hearing then now for case number SV 24-01, which is the Thomas Early subdivision variance.
Okay, so this is a request.
Let me ask one question.
Oops,
Does
sorry.
anybody need to clear prior communication on this? Go ahead.
Okay, so this is a request to allow access to a parcel via a 25-foot access rather than a 30-foot access that is normally required for a family subdivision. So this is located in Plan District 22, and it is zoned RA. And again, we're not approving the subdivision tonight, but if this is approved, they do have the family exempt subdivision, it will meet all the requirements for that. There is an active code case for this parcel because there are multiple dwellings, and so they need to subdivide in order to meet the 2 dwellings per parcel requirement. This is the subject property, and this area, I normally would do a zoning map, but because everything in the area is RA, the map was sort of redundant, but I did add that as a little square down here so you can see that everything here is zoned RA. And this just shows this Gruber's Lane is 25 feet wide. The easement itself, and the road itself doesn't actually follow the easement, it parallels it. But this has been used, this is an aerial photo from 1988, so it's been used to access this property for several decades. And So the request, again, is to allow the 25-foot ingress egress rather than 30 feet. And there's just a number of things that show where it meets the variance criteria, and that was in the agenda. So we recommend approval, and as conditions of approval, that they will need to go forward with the 2-lot family exempt subdivision. I ran out of time.
That's your time.
I'm out. So they will need to apply for the 2-lot subdivision in order to fulfill or to meet the to resolve the issue with the enforcement. And then they will need to provide the necessary documents for that, and then they will need to record the new deeds and the exemption letter. So again, this is approval for the 25-foot versus 30-foot easement.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, I have one person signed up. Christopher Childers, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Like, my only thing forward is, like she has said, we have been out there for a few decades, and I'm just trying to get out there so I can help my mom out with her medical conditions and everything like that. And right now, the 30-foot easement is the only thing holding us back from being able to try and do everything else.
Okay.
And that'll be it for me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, that's all I had signed up. I'll close the public hearing.
I have one question. Is
Go ahead.
one of the lots near this, on Grubbers Lane, also that industrial subdivision we did a while back? I'm getting it confused. It's not developed yet.
There's nothing zoned industrial. Is anyone familiar with another case?
It's not, okay. I have it confused.
Are you thinking about that eco whatever?
No,
Okay.
not eco.
Are you
so-
talking about the commercial Ship Road? Because that's
It's
off in Bayman.
industrial.
Yeah, it was originally industrial, like, Mary was the owner's name? Oh, she's gone. Never
That
mind.
one's up in the
It's not
Baymanette area. so
connected
that's
to
a diff-
Grubbers.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, I want to entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we accept this and approve it.
All right, Mr. Bolton's made a motion that we approve.
Seconded.
Mr. Cybert seconded the motion. Any questions on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. The next item is not a public hearing. Am I correct on this one?
I believe so.
All right. So this is case number HCA 23-08, which is Billy's Hot Dog Restaurant. It's a highway construction setback appeal. Ms. Rhodes?
All right. This is HCA 2308, Billy's Hot Dog Restaurant. This is the highway construction setback appeal. The appeal is to allow required parking spaces, which are a permanent structure within the highway construction setback. The subject property is located along the Foley Beach Express, south of Coastal Gateway Boulevard near Orange Beach. This is in Planning District 30, and they are zoned B4. The roadway functional classification is minor arterial, and the highway construction setback is 100 feet. Here are the Code of Alabama regulations regarding setbacks. So you can see letter F, no permanent structure shall be erected or constructed within the designated construction setback, and this includes required parking spaces. Here's just an image showing you the subject site as well as the highway classification. Here is the subject property, the boundary survey. And here is the site plan just rotated. I also have section 12.8 from our zoning ordinance that states the minor arterial and the setback requirement. Also the Code of Alabama stating the required parking spaces are prohibited within the highway construction setback. Excuse me, setback. And the red dashed lines is the 100-foot highway construction setback, and the blue lines are the building setback. So this is the original parking plan that was reviewed by AlDOT on February the 20th, and the area in yellow is the area that you can construct. The red dashed lines, as I mentioned earlier, is the highway construction setback. The blue lines are the building setback. And then the permanent structure area. So the building and the parking spaces should be in this area. Here's the revised plan provided by the applicant on February 26th. They have adjusted the restaurant location to be within the area where they can construct the building. However, the required parking is still within the highway construction setback. They, I believe, have 26 spaces, and about 24 of them are in the highway construction setback. So the area at the bottom here, this is AlDOT's response from the parking plan that was provided on 220. AlDOT cannot support any variance to the highway construction setback. This is documentation from the applicant, and they will be able to explain this as they speak. I've also included conditions that constitute a hardship for which a variance can be requested. So if any of those are applicable, the applicant can apply for a variance. So most of the required parking is within the highway construction setback. AlDOT has indicated they do not support an appeal to the highway construction setback, so staff recommends this case be denied. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I wanted to make one initial opening statement on this one. Late 2023, the Baldwin County Commission did convey all of its holdings of both the Baldwin Beach Express as well as the Foley Beach Express. So those two roadways are no longer county roadways. They are AlDOT roadways. So AlDOT, we quit claimed both the infrastructure and the right-of-way to AlDOT. So we no longer have control or ownership of the Foley Beach Express south of County Road 12, as well as all of the Baldwin Beach Express. Both of those segments are owned by AlDOT now.
So, Mark, this meeting area was originally set up for development, was it not, when the Express was created? I mean, there's already some developments inside the median in some places. Was this one of those sites set up for development?
I believe the original intent of the plaza was to be developed similar to the plaza space that is on the Florida Turnpike. I will say the Florida Turnpike space is wider, in general, a lot wider than this, but that was the intent, from my recollection, when this was originally platted.
But on this expressway, is there not development in the median?
There's an existing gas station just south of Coastal Gateway Boulevard.
So how did it get in?
It was approved prior to AlDOT accepting the roadway.
So when AlDOT took this, they created these setbacks?
I'm assuming, because with their...
I'm just trying to find out what's different between what has been done and what's being proposed.
AlDOT ownership.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
So the highway construction setback didn't exist when the Baldwin County Commission owned it?
No, not, this is an AlDOT construction setback per their standards.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't have been applicable because it was a county road, not an AlDOT facility.
We have setbacks all over county roadways.
Yeah, I mean, we just had one, so are we going to attempt to, I mean, are we going to attempt to reclassify this one so that, you know, he can build his hot dog stand, because we did it for the guy that gets his pool?
We have no stake in this roadway, so we can't reclassify a setback on somebody else's road. The inherent difference between the earlier...
I understand the inherent difference. I don't mean to cut you off, but this is extremely frustrating that, you know, the optics of allowing the pool to exist in a highway construction setback, and we're now going to attempt to reclassify that so it falls outside the construction setback. And now, because this is ALDOT, we're going to tell a small business owner, maybe, that he can't have his business.
Well, I think technically it's ALDOT that's telling them they can't have it, but we
I understand that
have control.
ALDOT is showing them, but we're the ones that are about to vote on it.
Well, that's, I can't change the ownership of the roadway, and it's their setbacks that's being applied to this, not ours.
Well, my question is, why is this on our agenda if we have no authority to decide whether we want it there or we don't want it there?
We have no authority over as it relates to, we did not set
But why
that
is it on
construction
our
setback.
agenda
Because
then?
we
Why
have the
did that
right
not
to-
come up
Yeah.
from the
They can
staff?
appeal to us.
Yes.
The legislature's set up for them to appeal to us.
Yeah.
We have the right to approve this, even though they recommend denial. We can still approve it, can we not?
I mean, I think you can approve it, but it has to meet, the statutory requirements, the gross inequity or extreme economic hardship if the strict enforcement is, approved. But it's really, I don't think there's a lot of case law on appeals from from roadway setback lines in case law versus true property setback lines and variances that people ask for from the Board of Adjustment. So I would have to look into that more to really speak to it more, because this is a very small subset of what planning departments do.
Mr. Chairman?
But, I think also I don't even know if it came out in the regular meeting, I know it came out in the work session, that they're going to attempt to reclassify the roadway and the swimming pool matter, because they don't believe that it's classified correctly, which would then decrease the area of the highway construction setback. I don't think there's any way on earth that, Foley Beach Express will ever be reclassified less dense, or less traveled, as far as that is. I think there is a difference in those two things.
Oh, I won't deny there's a difference, and I will accept the fact that there's a difference. But the fact that this is on our agenda and we can either approve or deny it, when it comes to what the public's going to see if they're watching this, or if somebody goes back and reads our minutes, the fact that it's on here, means, is going to convey the idea that we have some ability to either shut this business down because it's in the construction setback, or we can say he can have it. And that is the issue, the issue that I have.
Well,
we've dealt with these highway construction setbacks for months now, and I won't even go into how does this even how do things get built in the construction setbacks there.
Well, and do we know, did this owner buy this property in good faith before ALDOT took it over?
Yes.
How did we end up here with an owner of a piece of property that, assuming they bought it in good faith, now is told it's worthless? I mean, not totally worthless, but you couldn't build something that is equal to, footprint-wise, a gas station that's a quarter of a mile down the road. I understand what you say about that it was, the gas station was done before ALDOT took this over, but did they take it over under eminent domain? How did they end up with it, and what impact does that have legally on the property owner if he or she bought it in good faith?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chairman, if I may speak just briefly to the ALDOT.
You come up.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Boy, have you been told.
Sir. So I do want to clarify a couple of things here. I'm Frank Lundy, County Engineer. So the transfer of the Baldwin Beach Express and this portion of the Foley Beach Express the maintenance and ownership of the right-of-way of that road was by mutual agreement for the county commission and ALDOT. Had nothing to do with private property, had nothing to do with the setback outside the right-of-way. It strictly transferred the ownership and maintenance of those roadways, of those right-of-ways from Baldwin County to ALDOT through mutual agreement. And that's been done. The highway setback that we're discussing here is based on statute of the classification of the roadway. Whether it's a ALDOT road or a county road, the statute sets what that setback is. On 32 that we discussed earlier, it was based on the classification there. On this roadway, the Beach Express, it's based on its classification as well. So ALDOT, as the owner of the right-of-way and of the roadway, has recommended that this not be approved. But in my opinion, and the attorney can correct me if she thinks I'm wrong, but you do have the authority to make the decision because it's talking about the property outside the right-of-way. It is private property, but it's within the setback. We're not talking about ALDOT right-of-way that you're making a decision on. I hope that cleared it up just a little bit for you. It does not?
It sounds to me like, if I'm hearing correctly, highway setbacks did not change when there was a transition from the county to ALDOT.
It did not.
So that, no setbacks changed.
The classification of the road did not change, therefore the setback did not change. It applied before, it applies now. In this case, ALDOT, as the owner of the roadway, is making a recommendation that you deny it. The Baldwin County, as owner of the roadway in the earlier case, based on the characteristics of that particular road, separate situation, separate type of road, made a recommendation based on those characteristics. So that's where we are.
Well, I guess the question is, if we were to approve this tonight, does ALDOT have the authority to override that variance?
ALDOT has the authority for any connections tying into their right-of-way. They do have that authority. They will have to permit through ALDOT any sort of connection, just like any property would. That will be an ALDOT decision.
So, can I ask a question?
Rendered a citizen's property useless, basically, for that reason.
Well, and if I may, can I respond to him real quick? Any property along any roadway, if they want to connect to a roadway, would have to go through that permit process. And that's out, if it's an ALDOT road, it's an ALDOT decision. If it's a county road, that's a county decision. So any property, it's not isolating or singling out a particular property owner. That's consistent regardless of the property.
These little strips, it's just an observation, we're all looking at it, but what are we looking at, 4 B4 lots in a row, and it's a teeny tiny, narrow potential footprint to build in, and it's just gonna make it difficult for most businesses outside of a very, very small shop to exist in such a narrow space.
We don't disagree with that, but again, that is absolutely an ALDOT decision, not anything that Baldwin County can have a say in as far as that connection.
Okay. Ms. Burnett, you had a question?
Just to clear up, it's a recommendation from ALDOT to deny, but that's all it is. And all ALDOT really has authority are the turnouts, the driveway, in and out. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. I'll turn any legal question over to the attorney.
Yeah, I mean, according to statute, the Baldwin County Commission, through the Planning and Zoning Commission, regulates the construction setback from the center line of any, anything that's within our jurisdiction. And then state statute sets up what that setback is. So we don't have any control really over that unless we go change the state statute on it. And then it says that, if it's within the designated construction setback line, that there should be no permanent structures applied in that area. And that, and so we're asked to determine, and if, the appeal process is, y'all vote to deny or grant it, and someone doesn't like that, then they'll be able to appeal it to the Baldwin County Commission, I believe. I think even Alladot would have the right to appeal it as the property owner of the actual roadway. But also, they're looking at, is there a gross inequity, or is there, an extreme economic hardship? And I think what they're asking to do, and you have to remember, is they want to, place their patios and their decoration and everything in here, and then they want to put all the parking outside of the designated area that is buildable for permanent structures. So, I don't know if they've looked at any other way to make it work, if they've looked at any other thing, but.
I have a question.
Mr. Bolton?
It's a timeline on this thing. When did Aldott take over, and when did this guy apply for this? If he's ahead of them, it should be a no-brainer. I know they recommend it, but it should be a no-brainer.
I would say that he applied, or that we did.
That's when I believe the applicant's here.
Just one thing, as you look at the regulations of setbacks under item G, second sentence of that, on such appeal, the Baldwin County Planning and Zoning Commission shall have authority to grant such relief as it may deem appropriate to remedy. So we do have the authority to do that, and then it comes down to Aldott and the county seeing if they can't work something out with the property owner, I guess.
Okay, let's do this. The applicant is here. I didn't have you signed up, so since you're the applicant, I'll let you come up. Maybe you can give some answers or muddy the water some more. I don't know, I'll leave it up to you.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Commissioner and folks here, Chairman. I'm Bill of Billy's Gourmet Hot Dogs. We've been a family-run business for the past 20 years. We're one of the top 10 recognized hot dog restaurants in America. We love Baldwin County, and we are thrilled to be part of this community. Our general manager here is a native of this area as well, too. We also have with us Eric Jackson, who's from Thompson Engineering, our civil engineering here. And I also have Kim Ward that's here with us, who is our realtor that introduces to the property. Right off the bat, when we purchased the property, this was not under LDOT's control. This was a Baldwin County property, so we purchased this property. I had to pay for it out of my own family equity to do this. We have no outside investors to do that. Subsequent to developing our plans for this and submittal, LDOT took over the authority of this property here, and that's where that 100-foot or that setback came into place. We had talked.
I want to take a minute to make a correction, because I asked the engineer that those setback lines were the same when the county owned it as when Aldott owns it now. If I'm correct, setbacks did not change. If that's how I understood my question answered.
Okay, I don't believe that's the case. At least when we purchased the property in good faith estimate, those were not the setbacks that were in place in that. I'm not sure if Eric can chat about that, but he could talk about that in a moment here. So that's how we purchased property. That's how we developed that property. We have had numerous conversations with LDOT with regard to our site plan. The gentleman that is the liaison that we work with did approve our turnout. He did approve that turnout there. He's the one that recommended to us that we move the building, the physical building, to within the building envelope, outside of that construction setback, realizing that the parking and the drive-in there would be part of this inside the setback there. So we follow what the recommendation was on it. He did tell us that this group right here does have the authority to approve it, even though they would not recommend, they're not approving or disapproving it, they just simply give the recommendation. The building, the structure, the permanent structure, which they view parking lot as a permanent structure as well as a building, falls within that setback, but you guys, they told us you do have the authority to override that and approve that in there. With regard to trying to build within that envelope, including the parking lot, that's feasibly not possible. The building would be so small, parking would not be so limited. it would be economically unfeasible for us to do that. In terms of the standard of the gross inequity, in terms of what would happen here, the financial hardship, it would essentially make the property worthless. You're removing roughly 30 to 40% of the property because of that setback, and there's just no way that you could build something in there that would make that worthwhile in there. Mhm.
Okay, any questions?
I have a question. You said that you purchased it when Baldwin County owned the
highway.
rights to
Correct.
manage. When did you purchase it? What year?
In 2023.
2023?
Mhm.
And do we know when ALDOT took it over?
We were talking with LDOT in November and December, and at the end of November, they still had not had the official takeover. We did not get that indication until late December that they were going to take over that property.
Just to make sure I heard you correctly, you said you do have an approved ALDOT turnout permit.
They did approve the turnout, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
There's a lane both on north and southbound. There's a access road there where if you follow the Shell gas station, the same way to get in and out of the property. They've approved both those. Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone else on your team need to say anything?
Yeah, Eric, you want? Yeah, Eric Jackson from Thompson Engineering.
Yeah, I just want to add kind of one more comment is if I'm looking, I'm researching a property, what's the first thing I do? I go and pull the subdivision plat. I pulled that and I read everything about it. It was approved and recorded towards the end of 2016. Now, as far as I know, that highway construction setback was in law and being enforced at that time. So why did the ball get dropped here? There's no indication of highway construction setback line on the plat. There's no note about anything to do with it on there. And, as I'm the potential property owner, I look at this plat and I think this is what I've got. I've got 40-foot building setbacks and I can make this work. Great, let's buy it. And here we are now, after we bought the property. You go down the street, you look at the Shell station, you do a quick measure off the property line. There's 40 feet from the property line to that awning, to that structure where the gas pumps are. So, they were able to go with no enforcement of the highway construction setback. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
So I've got another question. So if this gets approved, is it up to the developer to petition Alabama? LDOT?
With the appeal, if we approve it, then he's approved to move forward with his site. It's up to ALDOT if they want to appeal our decision, but if I understand Aaron correctly, I guess there's a process if they don't agree with what we've done to take it the next step, but is that, well, yeah, they've got the turnout permit.
I may be wrong on that. I may have read that wrong. I'm not sure if they have an appeal process the appeal process would be to the circuit court, not the county commission. I think I said county commission and I'm.
If they chose to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Kim, by the way, you're the only one that signed up in that group, so I'm not going to ignore you. You sat here all night. Did you want to speak? It's not a public hearing, but you're representing them, so if there's something you wanted to say, I'll give you the opportunity to do it. Unless you're going to confuse us with anything. We're confused enough.
When I go back, because we've been working on this a year, I remember Miss Barbara Pate, calling her at the county. I said, something's just not right. I don't know if we've not received everything from the owner of the Shell station who owned all the plazas, or that plaza, and those lots. But we need to look at a package. that's been approved by the county, and this goes way back. She politely sent it. Nothing was on there about, we had no knowledge of AlDOT ownership or setbacks or anything quirky like that. So that's what we went with. He paid top dollar for the property. If we have to put it on the market tomorrow, that's gonna be a hardship.
Yeah.
And that will set the precedence going north on the other plazas, Billfish and Dolphin. And I think we run this county off of property tax, last I checked, and that will hurt us. So I really, we're asking for help. We don't know what to do. He's put a lot of money into this with, you know, architects and engineers, you know how that goes. So just as a realtor, I'm just saying, can you help us?
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. All right.
I have another question. Regarding a 40-foot setback, it looks like there's still plans to build part of the parking even in that area.
But that's a building setback.
Right.
Parking's allowed inside the building setback.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Any other questions?
I do. It's a curiosity question. What is the difference between a highway construction setback, that's the 100 feet from the highway, and the building setback line that's at 40 feet? What can you do between the building setback line and the permanent structures, or the highway construction setback, between the building setback line and the highway construction setback line?
I can speak to that just very quickly. Typically, like on a plat now, if we make it, the building setback is set at the highway construction setback, if that's farther away. Like, if, say you had a 30-foot setback, but the highway construction setback was 50, we'd put the building setback at 50. But on old plats, they didn't always have the same road classification, so the highway construction setback could have been different at that time. Now, one thing that's interesting, like if you, with a recorded plat, if you have a plat that was recorded a long time ago and had much smaller setbacks, like say now it's zoned, but it wasn't back then, so you cannot change, you can't make the new setbacks, or you can't make them adjust the old ones to fit the new ones, except in the case of highway construction setbacks. Any other kind of setback, wetland setback, regular front yard, side, normally you have to respect whatever is on the recorded plat. But like I said, according to state statute, the highway construction setback is in a different category, so that if that changes, you do have to adjust to that, even though you wouldn't have had to with other kinds, like I said, with wetland setbacks.
If we approve it, we're just talking about this plan right here. I mean, it couldn't change in any shape or form. I mean, if we approve it, they couldn't go back and change anything. Okay.
Any other questions? Well, I would assume the appeal process, is it 15 days, Aaron, or do we know a set time? 30 days?
And then it's a complete trial.
So if they don't appeal within 30 days, then it's approved and they go on, right? They have to appeal it in that 30-day period in order to.
Yeah. They would. I honestly, they can't speak to in 10 years if they needed to do something, like, do they have any powers at
Right.
AlDOT, to do anything about that? Like, that would be a research question to do. Or if, you know, I mean, I don't know, there could be several different options there if AlDOT decided one day that they needed that property back, and
Yes, sir. You'll have to come up front.
The question I had asked LDOT is, what do they need that highway construction setback for? And they explained it to us that if they had to do construction or do something to that road, they needed to have space to place equipment or supplies. That's what that setback's for. It's not that they would take it back and build a road in there. That's a different classification for what they would do. But they just need that space in case they had to park equipment or put supplies there. That's what it would be used for.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, one more question. For roads and bridges, was that a true statement that he just made, or is there a possibility that because of increased traffic and expansion, would they be widening it and going into the median, or it would only be on the outside in that area?
Mr. Chairman, I'll take a stab at that. The highway construction setback reserves that area that if future expansion, if future improvements are needed, then the area within the highway construction setback is free of those permanent structures. Free of permanent structures, free of swimming pools, free of underground fuel storage tanks, masonry, concrete walls, that sort of thing. Keeping that area reserved where it can be acquired for future improvements.
I'm going to remind everybody, we have been approving items in highway construction setback for the last several months, but in all cases, it's usually been with the recommendation of the county highway department. They had no problem with those particular areas. We just happen to have the same issue before us tonight with ALDOT recommending that we don't do it. But we do approve encroachments and setbacks. We've been doing it all the time. Garages, pools. So there's your situation. So how do you want to, we beat this to death, I think, as far as we just need to make a decision.
Mr. Chairman?
Wait a minute. Mr. Burnett, you can make an motion. Okay. Mr. Bowie, were you going to make a motion, or were you going to ask a question?
Yeah, I was going to make a motion.
All right, then I'm going to let Diane, because I saw that first.
I make a motion that we approve the, is it a variance?
It's an appeal.
It's an appeal.
An appeal, the appealed request.
All right, Ms. Burnett has made the motion that we approve.
I'll
Appeal to have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bowie, second the motion. Any questions on the motion?
I'd like to ask Diane if she would add to it, due to the fact that he bought the property was purchased before ALDOT owned it. So they would read that, see that.
I don't think, I don't know if it's necessary to add it and if it adds anything to it, because we don't know all the chain of title, and I don't want to get in that we base something on testimony. We've not seen the deeds, we've not seen the chain of title, we've not seen the plat. I don't know if we should muddy any waters for someone else later on about that. That would be my legal opinion on that.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the floor and a second to approve. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed. Roll call.
Mr. Bias?
Yes.
Mr. Davis? Mr. Mullick?
No.
Mr. Seibert?
Yes.
Mr. Boer?
Yes.
Ms. Stratiger? No. What was that? No. Mr. McKenzie?
Yes.
Ms. Burnett? Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Bolton?
Yes.
Mr. Waters? Motion carries.
Okay, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment real quick?
Sure.
My no was not to disapprove. It was possibly to table and get more information, because I think we have a lot more questions than answers. I just wanted to put
All
that
right,
out there.
well, it's approved, and due to that, now we'll move on to our next item, since it was, yeah. All right, so now we'll have a public hearing for the next item on our agenda, which is the Billy's Gourmet Hot Dog Restaurant, the commission site plan approval, which is CSP 23-43. So since this is a public hearing, I'll ask, does anybody need to clear prior communication on this other than the discussion we just had for 2 hours? Oh, it seems like 2 hours. All right. All joking, so Ms. Rhodes.
All right, this is CSP 2343, Billy's Hot Dog Restaurant. They're located in Planning District 30 and zoned B4. The current use of the property is vacant. The applicant is Presence Design Group, Dan O'Brien, and the owner is BPDB LLC. The current zoning, I've mentioned before, is B4, Major Commercial District, and the request is to construct a 2,500 square foot fast food restaurant. Here's the locator map and the site map. The adjacent land uses to the north, south, and west are vacant, and we have residential use to the east. The adjacent zonings are B4 to the north and south, and then we have an apartment complex to the east within Orange Beach city limits, and the education district within the Gulf Shores city limits. Here's the subject property and adjoining properties. Here are the requirements for B4 zoning, and as you can see highlighted, a fast food restaurant is allowed within this zoning requirement. Here is the site plan and the parking plan, and I've highlighted the highway construction setback. This goes back to the appeal, noting that the majority of the parking spaces are within the highway construction setback. And I also have section 12.8 from the zoning ordinance stating the highway construction setback for minor arterials is 100 feet, and that required parking spaces are permanent structures, which are prohibited in the highway construction setback. Here's the floor plans, the elevations, the grading and drainage plan, as well as the drainage narrative, and their erosion control plan, and the landscape plan. We've noted comments from AlDOT, and they have reviewed the plan and agreed that access would be allowable. A commercial turnout permit has not been provided, and that will be a condition upon approval if you guys wish to approve this. And then just reiterating AlDOT and their review of the original site plan and how they could not support any variance to the highway construction setback. So for A, the proposed use is allowed. However, due to the parking within the highway construction setback, the requirements within section 12.8 of the zoning ordinance, as well as the Code of Alabama, are not met, so the site plan does not conform to the requirements of the zoning ordinance. In regards to the master plan, the future land use potential of this subject property is ideal conservation development for the area. The proposed use would be better suited with a high-density development area. And you can see that from the flume map. All of this is in your staff report. So I'm going to jump to the final slide here. So the applicant's requesting a commission site plan approval to allow for the construction of a 2,500 square foot facility for a fast food restaurant. As mentioned earlier, AlDOT has not provided any comments regarding the revised site plan to allow for that required parking to be within the highway construction setback. And then the requirements of section 12.8 as well as within the Code of Alabama were not satisfied, so staff recommends denial of the request. However, if it's the pleasure of the Planning Commission to approve this CSP request, staff memorializes that an approved turnout permit from AlDOT shall be required before staff will submit a CSP approval letter to the applicant, and this letter is required before any building permits are issued. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Just one quick question on the turnout permit. Is staff aware that AlDOT has approved a turnout permit from this, or is it just?
I did receive notification from the applicant, but there has been no documentation uploaded to the application, and that's what I need.
Okay, any other questions? All right, so Any of you guys want to say anything else? It's up to you. Okay. All right, unless there's something new, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve, subject to staff conditions.
Okay, Brandon Vice has made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Bill? Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Do I have any questions on the motion? All in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute.
Motion to approve denial. He says to make some
No.
staff recommendation.
Staff had a recommendation to approve. Yeah.
Yeah. So the motion is to approve the request.
In our packet, our packet is showing a.
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen, on the
So we're
bottom
going
of this.
Okay.
Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, may I intervene here? So the staff recommendation is denied. But what we've done here is given the Planning Commission language that if it's your pleasure to approve it, that we memorialize what you see there on screen. So the motion was to approve. So by approving it, you're including the language we have on screen.
Okay. Everybody clear? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Roll call.
Mr. Bias?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Mr. Mullet?
No.
Mr. Seibert?
Yes.
Mr. Boer?
Yes.
Ms. Stratiger? No. Mr. McKenzie? Ms. Burnett? Mr. Fletcher? Mr. Bolton? Mr. Waters? Motion carries.
All right, motion carries. That's the last of our items on, as far as our agenda items. Any new business? Any public comments? I had none signed up. Staff reports? No staff reports?
No staff reports.
Okay. Legal counsel?
Reports for me.
Okay. Boy, y'all are making this easy. All right, our,
I have a comment. This came up somewhat in work session that when we make a recommendation for approval or a recommendation for denial, if it could be part of our procedure that without going and viewing the commissioners meeting as to their final approvals or denials for this, as that if we find an avenue that we are made of, just for our educational purposes, made aware of where they've gone against us, or not, where they have gone differently than we have recommended, so that we know a little bit, and it's I think it's a great educational opportunity for us to, in a perfect world, we would go along with what staff recommends, and then the commissioners would go along with what we recommend. And whenever there's, I don't want to say disagreement, I think it's educational opportunity for us as a commission.
and as I said in work session, you may not have heard that, Michael, but we have a new director coming on. We'll be here by our next meeting. And I would say let me wait till he gets on board, and I'll talk with him about it. Maybe something he can report to us on I think we did talk about that in the past. It maybe just got dropped, but we'll talk to him about it. Anything else?
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
Months back, we had a executive session, went in and talked. Came forward with this guy, this gal, that would be on the committee, come back with a report. I haven't heard of it.
Are you referring to the,
I don't remember.
are you talking about the subdivision regulations? Or are you talking about the Belisara case?
Something we were going to come back with some recommendation. And we went in there.
Well, the Belisara case is still in mediation, so that's the best I can tell you at this point. There's some meetings being planned, follow-up to that. And so there's nothing really to report at this, unless, Aaron, you want to say something.
No,
If that's what you're
I
referring
think
to.
he may be talking about something else, and maybe it came up via Bellassar or something.
Well,
but
the
I'm
only
not
other thing
sure.
that I know of, Aaron, is the planning commission picked, I think it was Michael and Diane and myself to look at, and maybe Jamie was on there, to look at the subdivision regulations, some recommended changes. And then when Matthew left, we all kind of agreed we might want to put that on hold until a new director comes on board.
It was sticking in my mind, I meant to ask.
And that may be what you're referring to, so,
Yeah.
okay? Anything else? All right, we're adjourned till whatever the next month's meeting date is. I don't have it in front of me. April 4th. What's that?